So, we do have an international audience, and they're going to say, where is Meelah from? So where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in Las Vegas, Nevada. For those of y'all who have been to the States, I'm not sure if you've been to Vegas, but Vegas is, they call it Sin City. Yeah. They got all the hotels and casinos and bright lights. It looks like a little Disneyland, if you will, because it's all the if you go on the strip is the hotels and the gambling, and it's 24 hours. It never shuts down. 24-hour alcohol, 24 hours sex, drugs, rock and roll. This is going out there.
No, because I would wonder, because I went to college in the States, and I lived in LA for a number of years. And I used to drive down to Vegas, but I do wonder if you were born and raised in Vegas. I mean, were your parents working in the casinos? Because I wouldn't imagine they weren't farmers and stuff. So why were you raised in Vegas?
I get that question all the time. That is so funny. So I had family members who worked in the casinos, but and actually my dad, I think, was a chef at one of the casinos. I think he used to cook at one of the hotels in the kitchen or something. So he worked at a hotel for a short time. I think my mom was like a security guard at a hotel for a short time, but they didn't stay at the hotels for long. But
were they from Vegas themselves?
My mom was born in Las Vegas, actually. Wow. I know, in 1952, she was born in Vegas. Wow. But most Blacks in Vegas migrated from the South, and or other Midwestern cities or whatever, and so they moved to Vegas for better opportunity, better life, better jobs, to my understanding. My grandfather, my grandparents, they were now deceased. They lived till like they were 90 something. They moved to Vegas when, I don't know, but they had 8 kids, and I know all of my aunts and uncles are still alive, and my mom was one of the 8 that was born in Vegas. So I'm like really from Vegas. But my mom and dad met when he was like 18. He's from the South, like Louisiana. Okay. But he moved to Vegas and met my mom. So there are a lot. I get the question of like, well, are there Black? I didn't even know Black people live in London. Oh, it's a lot of us. It's a whole lot of us. Yeah, just moved from just surrounding areas, and but Vegas is definitely a melting pot. I definitely grew up with all, nationality of friends. I went to school with not just Blacks, but also I had Indian friends and Italian friends. And gosh, one of my closest friends was a little Irish girl. And, oh yes. And I would, and God, I remember their names. I used to love, looking back now as an adult, I love the fact that I was exposed to different cultures, you know what I mean? Because a lot of, some of my friends who were from the East Coast or from up north, and which would be like Virginia, New York, whatever, they weren't exposed to that. So it'd be kind of weird to them, like, and I'm like, yeah, I grew up with a little bit of everybody in Vegas. Yeah. And but I appreciate that experience. But that's why now I live in Atlanta. And that's why when I first started coming to Atlanta, I was so like, oh, this is beautiful, because it was so many of us. It was just so many Black people. I was like, Chocolate City. Like yeah. I didn't really have that growing up in Vegas. There was a lot of us out there, but it was, like I said, it was a multicultural jambalaya. So here in Atlanta, I would be like, wow, there's a lot of us, and there's a lot of us that are successful here are not just employees, but actually business owners. And I didn't see that a lot growing up in Vegas. I will say there's not a lot of culture in Las Vegas. Yeah. But I love growing up in Vegas. I did not. I wasn't born in a hotel. We have churches and movies and parks and skating rinks and what do you call that? Drive-in theaters, and we have, like everybody else, we don't have beaches or it's dry, it's the desert, but we have mountains actually. To the mountains, the sky sits really low, so you can see the stars at night are so beautiful. Look like you just pull one right out because it's a valley, it's flat. No trees. Our lake is man-made, so it's dry there. But growing up in Vegas is beautiful. It's a beautiful place to live, but I mean, clearly I moved because I guess I wasn't that taken by it. So I'm like, but if you've been there all that time. A long time, But I have a whole family, a huge family that's still in Vegas.
I mean, because you mentioned church and stuff, and you talk about, you know, your faith. Did you sing in church, or was it in school that you started singing?
Sang in church. Yep, I grew up singing in church. I sang in school as well. I was in the choir at school in elementary. I was leading songs in the school choir, like in 5th grade. I think I have it on video cassette, actually.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, gosh. I think we sang like What the World Needs Now. And I think we sang Celebration by like Kool and the Gang. This is all the 4th and 5th grade, okay?
Wow.
I have it on tape. It's so funny. I have it on VHS. So I was singing in school, and then I think by age 7, I was leading songs in the church choir. My mother had joined church, and my sister, you know, got my sister and I in the choir. And I wasn't even really trying to sing like that. I knew I liked to sing, but I didn't really like know that there was something that I didn't know that was something I like really wanted to do. I know I liked singing, like I like music. Yeah. But in my mind as a 5, 6, 7-year-old, you know how you hear people say, oh, I've been singing since I was 2. Yeah, no, yeah. I ain't been singing since I was 2. But I definitely started young. I started like around, like I said, I was in elementary singing in the choir. And then my first solo at church was about age 7. Yeah, that's when I knew like, okay, I think I might be kind of good at this. I think I might have a natural talent at this. And so from there, like, and I didn't even go after the solo. The pianist, our musician at the time, just picked me out. It was, I don't know what he heard, because I was singing with the choir. I was a little kid, and he just, I mean, I guess it was God, not to get all deep, but you know, because he just was like, hey, I want you to lead this song. And I was 7, and I'm just like, okay. And from there, I just started, I realized like, oh, okay, I'm not too bad at this. And so then my mom realized it as well and was just like, okay, cool. And she just started putting me in talent shows around town, and oh gosh, you name it, she had me in it. Weddings, track meets, I was doing the national anthem, freaking fashion shows. I probably was at somebody's bar mitzvah, I don't know. Meelah was there in Vegas singing all around town. I was singing. And I always sang by myself. I was never with, you know, a group or other, you know, people. Like I was always a one-man band. Until, you know, I met the girls later in high school.
But your mum sending you to all these talent contests and stuff. What was the aim? What was her? Did she tell you?
You know, I don't know. I think she realized I really enjoyed it. And clearly, I guess she realized, hey, my daughter has kind of knack for this. And so I liked being, she wasn't a stage mom, like pushing me to do it. I guess I enjoyed it. I always wanted to win. I wasn't super competitive, but I definitely wanted to win. So we'd go after these things, just really, I think, for exposure, and just because it just felt good to do. And so I won a few like local contests, and I would win these awards. And of course, that made me feel like, okay, well, why not? Let's just keep doing this and see what happens. By the time I was 13, I think I went into the recording studio for the first time. I think I sang Whitney Houston's Miracle. And I didn't realize, now mind you, I had been singing all this time in church, which is just a different experience from singing in the studio. So I go in the studio and I'm like, it was a lot more work. And I quit. I quit at 13. I told my mom, I don't want to do this anymore. And my mom got upset with the producer and said, don't push her. You're pushing her too hard. Oh, God, I remember this like yesterday. I've never told this story before. That's so funny. And the producer's like, what do you mean? Like, you know, I'm basically like, I'm making her great. Because he was pushing me beyond my comfort zone and just challenging me vocally, I guess. And it was frustrating to me because I was like, no, like this, I don't, you know, I sing like this at church, not like this. And it was wild. I just remember being like, I don't want to do this anymore. My mom was like, well, you don't have to do it. So I quit at 13. I told myself I was done singing. And then fast forward, I wasn't. And so I kept singing and local stuff. And I think ultimately I wanted to get to Star Search. That's what I think I wanted to do. I would see the kids on Star Search and I would be like, I can do that.
Oh, like Shanice.
Yes. And I never made it to Star Search. We never pursued it. I think I was going to. And then I just kind of felt like, I don't know, after that studio session, I kind of got over it. And then I started going to high school and I won. Oh, I would always sing at school in high school. So they'd always have like me and my cousin. That was like the only person I'd ever sing with when I did sing with someone else. They would have us singing like the Black History programs and stuff like that. And that was before I went to school with 702. That was a different school. So by the time I went to the Performing Arts High School where I met the girls, 702, I had been singing all around town and everything, and church and these competitions and all these programs and whatever. And so I was just kind of like, I never really knew if I wanted to pursue it to be this big superstar or, you know, a famous singer. I just wanted to, I would always tell my mom, I just want to buy you a mansion. My mom says, you know, you always tell me, I'm just going to be rich. And it was either entertainment, journalism, or broadcasting. I never knew what I really wanted to do, but I knew those were the top three things. I loved English and I loved creative writing and I loved being in front of a camera. So I knew I wanted to do something with entertainment, but I wasn't really sure, but I wasn't really pressed about being this famous singer. I just knew, I told my mom, I'm gonna buy you this mansion and I'm gonna be rich. And lo and behold, I mean, I definitely didn't dream about 702 happening. It's so interesting how life happens, but I was about to go to college actually, because my sister, I have one older sister who had gone off to college. And I was so motivated by her leaving from Vegas, going all the way to the East Coast to Virginia, that I was like, oh, okay. Oh, that's how we get out of here, huh? That's how we break away from church. I'm out. Because my mom she was very strict and she was very, we were pretty sheltered, if you will, my sister and I. And, you know, I was just this square church girl who, I was a little more outgoing than my sister. They say the youngest one is always a little wild. Or wild. If you think about it, you think about all the famous siblings, think about the younger one.
Yeah.
Always a little more wild. But anyway. So I was ready to go to college and I started putting in all these applications to go to a historically Black college because my sister went to one and I was just like, okay, I'm out of here. And then 702 happened and I never made it to college. I chose Motown over school.
Oh, yeah.
I chose Motown over higher education. Oh, I know. Looking back, I'm like,
you know, when you mentioned,
I missed everything.
When you mentioned your the recording session, it and how you thought the engineer or producer was pushing you too much, and you just said you quit, and then you think about what you went through with Zach. And you experienced more than most mothers. I would say more than 90% of the mothers, and you still showed the resilience. So it's almost as if what you couldn't do then, it's almost as if you were able to. I just got that connection.
Absolutely. Like I never knew how strong I was until I went through that moment with Zach. I realized I'm way stronger than I thought.
Did you ever remember that 13-year-old you who just couldn't?
Oh yeah.
And then you think about, wow, look at she never knew how. Well,
first of all, I mean, I was pretty overconfident, I think, at the time.
Okay.
You know, I had won all these awards and I was like a local little star in my mind because I was doing I was doing the local news, doing interviews on these local news stations and write-ups in like our little local newspaper. So, you know, I'm thinking like, oh, I'm doing pretty good. Oh my gosh. And so when he got to pushing me, I'm just like, this is not what I signed up for. You know? Oh gosh, the things that we think we know. And I look back and I realize like, that did nothing but help me, really. He was trying to strengthen parts of my voice that I had never tapped into. You know what I mean? And I look back now and I'm just like, wow, he's deceased now, rest in peace. But I remember him being really upset with me because he believed in me more than I believed in me.
Wow.
And I just, you know, I would see him around town and I would be like, hey, like, was through with him because I was just like, in my mind, he was just the mean freaking producer who was just like, didn't understand. Oh, woe is Meelah. He just didn't understand. But I thank him. Gosh, I wish he was alive because I really would like to, you know, I don't know that I ever got to thank him before he passed, you know, and he knew about, you know, my success with 702. And I don't know that I ever got to just say thank you. So gosh, wherever you are, I hope, and I really hope and pray that he understands how, gosh, it was so humbling and it was just such a learning experience. I'm really grateful for that moment. I really truly am, because I had no training, no proper training at all. Leading up to that point, because people ask me all the time, you know, did you take voice lessons? And I'm like, no, it's just a natural, a gift from God, a natural given gift from God. But I don't say that I don't take vocal lessons. Oh, of course, we all should. I'm always a student. I'm never ever too arrogant or think I'm too good for studying or for learning. So we meaning me and the girls is 702. We always had vocal lessons. The label, we had them before, you know, the label put us in lessons, and of course the label puts you in them, and then, you know, you stay in them as an adult. You probably should stay in them. I mean, the best are still vocally trained. But at 13, honey, I didn't need vocal lessons at 13 because I had never had vocal lessons, and I was like, what? I don't need vocal. God.
Yeah, I mean that's just amazing. The transformation.
And that's growth, right, for maturity.
Of that, yeah. But for somebody who always wanted to be a soloist and who strived at being a soloist, how much convincing did it take for you to join 702 then? So
it was definitely something that I wrestled with a little bit. My mom and I weren't 100% sure because, like you said, we were just so used to it always just being me. And I didn't know what that would feel like or look like, or, you know, I didn't know what experiences I would have coming into a group that was already formed, that was a family, you know, orchestrated group. Like, I wasn't sure. I really didn't know. So it wasn't overnight, like, oh, absolutely, there's no brainer. Yeah, heck yeah. It wasn't that at all. But I did go and audition once they asked me to, and I kind of just was waiting it out to see, like, if I really wanted to, you know, if this is something I really wanted to move forward with. I just remember my mom and I both being a little iffy, just because like I said, it was foreign to us, you know, so we just weren't sure what it would look like. And I think my mom was she's like, now that I'm a mom, I get it. She's just super overprotective and just super worried about me. And but of course, like I said, my mom is a woman of God. So of course, you know, the first thing we did was just like prayed about it. We went to pray, like, Lord, what should we do? That's all I remember. Like, she was like, we'll just pray about it.
Take it to Jesus.
Right, that's it. Yeah, take it to the Lord in prayer. So that's what we did. But I think ultimately, like, that's exciting. Like, they were signed to Motown. Like, of course, as a 17-year-old, I mean, even though I was a little apprehensive, I wasn't no fool. I definitely understood Motown, you know.
That was Michael Bivins. Did you know who he was?
Yeah, of course. That was one of my first, actually, my very first concert was New Edition. I was like 7. And I was a New Edition fan, and I was a BBD fan. Like, I knew every BBD song there was. Every, not just a single.
Doobie? I was a 7-year-old.
I had the cassette tape. I was in middle school. I was in junior high. I was like 7th or 8th grade, and I played that album to death. Full circle. It's crazy how things happen. Full circle. Then years later, I'm like signing rights to Michael Bivins. It's so weird. 510/Motown. So, but yeah, I was a fan already. But, you know, I just wasn't sure of my position. You know what I mean? I just didn't, like, again, I didn't know what to expect, but I did know, like, this could be a huge opportunity.
Yeah.
I had been approached as a solo artist from, like, I did so many talent shows that I definitely was approached by a few like little labels. I forget the name of that label. God, it's so old. Jesus. You remember Domino? God, that guy Domino back in the day.
Oh yeah, Domino. Yes.
Remember that? Right. I forget his song. Anyway, he had seen me and someone else, and they had labels, but it, I had not been approached by a label such as, Bivins.
Bivins, because they had Boys to Men and ABC.
Right. And who else? I think, gosh, it was a few people before 702 and Subway. But anywho, like I said, they were already established, and so I just wasn't sure. But they chose me to go ahead and do the let's see, it felt like a boot camp. Go ahead and train with them and see if I could blend with them, lose a little weight, see if I could dance with them. So I had to go through like a series of tests, if you will, before I even made it to audition for Mike.
Yeah, I mean, and I do always wonder, because it's one thing joining, getting into the industry. There's another thing joining an established group, because most of the people I've interviewed who formed a group together, whether they were singing in high school and then let's come together. So you've come into a group that had 3 sisters and a friend. One sister has been told, you can't make it, and vocally. So I don't know, all the sort of like, well, if she's coming, she better be good. And I don't know, and I'm not thinking about that, but there's that type of pressure from the families and everything. And and then we've seen you do a lot more of the lead singing. I mean, were you nervous? Were you afraid, or were you just too excited that you didn't even think about all of that? Or you just like, well,
no, it was all of that. And that's what I meant by, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what my position would be. I didn't know what it would look like for me. Yeah. That's what I meant pretty much by all that, is because the way it, and we were so young, and I'm sure there were several conversations had around me and the girls, around like, not literally around us, like, that went around us, basically. Like, I'm sure there were so many conversations that we were not privy to, and here we are in what, maybe 9th, I think Irish maybe in 9th grade, and me and Misha were like 11th grade. Like, we're 15 and 17 years old. And this, these are big, huge money moves, And, I don't know what they told them versus what they told me. And looking back now as an adult, like, that's stressful for all of us, what I was told was, Mike wants to just kind of switch out the group to bring in some more lead singers or another lead singer to help out Misha, because at the time LeMisha was the strongest voice in the group, so she was deemed as the lead singer, and had done mostly all the leads, and I think she was doing most of the writing as well. But I guess he just kind of wanted someone, like I said, like it was verbalized to me, to help her share the load, if you will. And so that's where I came in. So to me, I just thought I was coming in to like split the difference, help her sing some of the songs. Yeah, I think that's what it started out as, or that's how it was articulated to me. Now, I don't know if that's I don't know what the story is, but that's what I was told. And so maybe she could have been told the same thing or not, but the thing is, it ended up being different, because it went away from that. It ended up turning out to be different, because I went from helping her to sing lead on songs to kind of just singing leads mostly on all the songs.
Yeah, I mean, and as I said,
and this was not my choice. Just so
no. As I said,
this was just me coming in, doing my job, like sing the song anime, press record. So that's what I was doing.
Yeah, and I think for us as fans, we only saw the videos and the tours, and we see the happy side. And since we've been doing halftime chats, I've spoken to over 70 artists, and we get to see that, wow, you guys were really put in really challenging situations,
really compromising, because absolutely, which leads to drama. And you wonder why groups tend to break up. It's always underlined negative history. It's always just some underlying backstories. It's always some underlying drama, underlying animosity. It happens. And then being so young, you don't even really get to grow up.
Yeah.
You know, you have to grow up together, be glued at the hip, you know, go through adolescence and puberty or whatever we were going through, like under all this pressure, and you know what I'm saying? And all you can do is really what you are asked to do or instructed to do. I don't know how the music business goes. I'm 17, fresh out of Vegas from the church. I don't know what to do. I'm just like, okay, you know, and I think these are things that my mom was concerned about. Do you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, she didn't really know the business. She knows that I was green, she was green, and I'm a kid.
Yeah.
You know, at the same time. So it was very, very stressful for all of us. But we made great music. But yeah, of course, there were times where it wasn't so fun, you know, because I kind of by default became the lead singer. It definitely was uncomfortable a whole lot.
How was it when Steelo came out and it hits the charts and does so well? I mean, and you know, most of us will remember, you know, that type of 95 to 97 where before hip hop came and destroyed our industry. But there was so much competition, so many great artists out there, and to be able to make headway is not an easy thing, because there were so many great groups that just disappeared. So when Steelo, you know, even though we had Missy doing her thing, but you know, but it's still, you know, it's still made out. Were you surprised how successful you guys, you know, for your first single?
Honestly, it all happened so freaking fast.
Are you serious?
Woo! It was just, I mean, because literally my entire senior year, we recorded that album.
Wow.
We would go to school, sometimes leave on weekends, sometimes leave during the week, do homework in between takes, fly back. Right after I graduated, I'd say, I don't even know if it was a full 3 months. From the day I got my high school diploma, I was moved to New York, and we started prepping to do that video. We did all the album photo shoots for the artwork, and we did the video in New York because that's where the label was. The label flew us out, and I literally moved to New York right after I graduated high school, and finished the album, and everything just took off. We shot the video, and I feel like I graduated in May. I moved to New York around maybe August, and I feel like we shot the video in September, and Steelo, the album, came out in October. Wow. This is 96, because I graduated in May of 96, and the album came out like October of 96 or something like that. So it was just, and then I had no expectations. Again, I'm just fulfilling a job, a position, you know, I'm just singing. I'm doing what I love. I'm loving singing. I'm loving this experience, but I'm not even thinking about what's to come. What am I expecting? What's going to come from this? I wasn't thinking about any of that. That hadn't crossed my mind. And it just took off. It just took off. To this day, I've been asked this question my whole life. And I'm still like, I don't know. I don't know how I felt. I was excited, but I was in shock. I think it was just, it was surreal. It happened really fast. And then December, we were on tour. So that's October. By December, we were opening up for New Edition for a 33 city tour. Yeah, their home again tour.
I saw you guys in Milwaukee.
Did you really? Oh,
yes, because that's still my greatest tour, because Blackstreet was on it.
Yes, that was so fun. Oh, that was so fun.
My favorite tour. Yeah. The whole all six of them, and Bobby comes out and does his stuff. Johnny,
we saw some stuff. Now I can write a book on that tour.
Oh goodness,
it was wild, but it was so much fun, and I was, just grateful to have that opportunity, and for Mike, to give us that opportunity and put us on stage.
Yeah.
That being our first album and being able to open up for that tour was major. And again, full circle, because like I said, that was my first concert as a kid at 7, New Edition, and you know, I'm like, now I'm opening for New Edition, and I was like 17, like 10 years later. You know what I mean? It was just like, wow. Like,
but how safe was it for you? Did you have a nanny to look after you guys? I mean, these 3 young girls with all these guys.
Not. This is why all of us are nuts. No. No, we had, of course, the girls, you know, they're sisters. Same mom, same dad, and their brother-in-law was our manager, and so he was on the road with us. Their other sister, their older sister, his wife, would come on the road. She was like road manager. Then sometimes my mom would come here and there. Their mom would come here and there. So they would rotate. But the parents, they started. That was short-lived. Okay. As years went on, as time went on, we just had management, and by then, you know, and that's the scary part, you know, because everything's accessible. You can do what you want to do, really. I mean, everything's around.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You get alcohol, drugs, I'm sure. I mean, I never saw like drugs, like hard drugs, but the point is, I'm sure if I was like wild and just ready to try something, I'm sure I could have figured out. Somebody would probably got it for me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's so scary. Like, thinking back, and now, God, I can imagine having a kid in the industry now, but I'm so grateful that, you know, I was raised the way that I was, and that God covered me and kept me.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's wild out there. Was I perfect? Hell no. I'm young, and we've got all of this stuff happening and the success. Then you go back to feeling yourself, and you think like your little stuff doesn't stink. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's just like, but I'm so glad we all three of us were we never, you know, we were, God, Lord bless our hearts. We were so, I don't know what you call us, but we were the girls that, when they would ask, the promoter would be like, okay, I want to take you guys out to dinner. You know, where do you want to go? I want to take you to a nice restaurant. We're like, oh no, it's okay. We'll just have Taco Bell. Like, every city, I kid you not, we ate Taco Bell, Wendy's, or KFC.
Okay, at least it's not McDonald's then.
Well, if that's all that was around, I'm sure we probably had McDonald's a lot over in the UK, honestly. So we were just like clueless, you know, and green, and we never fully took advantage of all the travel, and I don't know, you know, I think we were all just kind of, like I said, just sheltered in our own ways, and didn't even realize just the massiveness of what was happening. I don't think so. And I mean, because every time you look up, we're just photo shoots, interviews, studio, repeat, you know, so.
Yeah.
You get excited, you know, you buy that house and that car for your mom, whatever. You buy your first little car, you know, you do stuff like that, and then it might hit you like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I can get a little car. Ooh, I made it. But there's so much stuff that you're not taught. And there's so much stuff that you don't know. And it's so many things that either you can take for granted or that people can take advantage of. You know?
Yeah.
So
were you writing?
No, not the first and second album. We wrote all the time, but there was Motown never really allowed us to write the first and second album. We have songs that we wrote that weren't on the album. The only time we got to write on the album was the very last album, the Start album.
So I interviewed Debarge, and can you imagine after he'd already had hits with the Debarge, All This Love and Time Revealed, when he came out with his solo album, Motown didn't allow him to write on his solo album, and he's already had these hits. So there was
what is that? Oh,
yeah, I mean, he did Debarge, who'd written all these hits. He wasn't
right.
allowed
He's
by
Debarge. How dare you tell me can I write? That
so
doesn't
when
even
you think
to me.
So when you think about what they not let you guys write, and although one song that you did feature, you know, Donnell has been on my show twice. It really,
I love him.
Get it together, and he was telling me the story how.
Oh,
that he had this song for his little group he was putting together. Then Eddie F says, "Give it to 702," and he was like, "No, Eddie, I want it for my group." He said, "Give it to 702 and get it." I mean, do you remember working with Donnell?
Yes, very, very much. I was in 11th or 12th grade. That was one of those moments we had to fly out from school.
Oh.
And it took all of 3 days, and I didn't understand why it took so long.
Was that long?
I didn't understand why it took so long to do such a simple, in my mind, such a simplistic record. I was frustrated because I just did not understand why I was about 17, I think. I didn't understand what it was that he wanted from me that he was not getting. So after each take, I would think I did good, and I'd go do my homework, work on schoolwork, whatever. And I'm thinking we're done. And he's like, no. And at the time, he was communicating kind of like how you said your student was doing with his mother. He was doing that to the engineer or whatever. And I was just like, why is he talking? Oh, I love him. I love my Donnell. He laughs when I tell him the story. I'm like, you was crazy, right? And so that person, the engineer or whatever, would then, translate it to me or what have you. And I'm just like, well, okay, we have a whole translator. Okay. And I have to do it again, and I have to do it again. And I'm like, what do you want? So now I understand what he wanted was more than just a pretty voice. Of course, I could sing it because, okay, I could sing, but I wasn't, I guess, delivering the conviction or the emotion. I had not lived that. I had not really had my heart. Okay, I maybe had my heart broken once by, first love or something, but that song, which I just learned through his unsung, his story that he tells about, his life, his music career. I just learned that song was about something he was going through with his then wife, the children of his mother, the mother of his children, pardon me, at the time, his first love. I think they were like high school sweethearts. That was him writing about his experience. And he might be a few years older than us, I'm sure, probably maybe 20, maybe he was like 20 something, I don't know. And so now I'm looking back and I'm like, well, I get why he got it, because he lived it. That was his story. And he wanted me to convey that. And I'm just like, what do you want me to do? But there's a method to his madness, because that is, to date, one of our strongest songs. So people love, even though Where My Girls At was our biggest hit, people love Get It Together. They sing that song word for word. I don't really have to perform that song whenever we sing it. I just hold it for that. They love that song. I mean, I don't know what it is. And so I'm like, there was a method to his madness because it worked.
Yeah.
And when I listen back at my 17-year-old self singing it, I hear him in me. I hear his tone. You really listen to it. If you're a Donnell Jones fan, if you know his music and if you know his voice, and if you listen to me and how I'm singing that song, it sounds like him. I hear the production, for sure. It's so perfect though. It's perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, he did a really wonderful job. I was annoyed. I didn't understand. Because I'm usually like, back then I was one take wonder. So I was just like, why are you making me do this over and over?
Yeah.
But what I will say about myself back then compared to now, I have my tolerance levels. I have no patience now. Back then, of course, I was super patient and super, even though I didn't get it, I wanted to get it. You know what I mean? Because I was like, I was a kid. So I want to make it. And I'm higher, I'm like, in my mind, everybody's replaceable. So I'm like, no, I want to do what it is that he's asking me. And I don't want to gripe. I don't want to complain. Even though I might have been kicking and screaming inside, I wanted to get it right. I'm a perfectionist by nature. So I wanted to get it right. And although I was frustrated, I really wanted to I wanted to nail it for him.
Yeah.
And I guess finally after 3 days. Yeah.
Well, I think
I love that song though. That's one of my favorite songs. Every time he lives here in Atlanta, and every time I run into him or we do shows with him still, I tell him all the time, I'm like, bro, my faves, man. I'm like, I didn't get it, but
but I think that's what separates Mary from most other singers. Vocally, she may not, there are other singers who have vocally stronger voices, but she conveys a story within her voice that you can hear the heartache. And I think that's the one thing that most of us who at the time didn't really get.
Absolutely.
We just listen to a song and enjoy it. But when we do hear people deliver it from a place where like, wow, you know, Mary's, you know, and so that I think hearing this story now, I can understand as opposed to back then, like, what's, you know, you just do one take, why don't you move on? But, you know,
right. I think because I sang it pretty, it was pretty, but it was no feeling behind it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? And now, as you know, a seasoned recording artist, Lord, I practically used to live in the studio all the time. I get it now. I'll make myself do something 30,000 takes, and the engineer will be so annoyed with me. And I'm like, there's no feeling there.
Yeah.
Like, I sound good. I'm hitting the notes, but I'm like, I don't feel it, you know. And I'll take a break and be like, let me process, and let me, you know, really get into the lyric and really understand what I'm singing, because attitude, conviction, like you said, just conveying its emotion. I think what Get It Together brought, finally, what I brought to the record was emotion. You know what I mean? Like it sound like I sound like, to me, I sound like I'm crying over the music. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's what he wanted, some type of emotion. I probably just went in there and just, you know, sang the song and thought I was done.
Yeah. But when did you realize that you guys had made it? When did you realize, wow, we actually, you know, all the singles are coming up, but there was a song or moment that you thought, you know, actually?
I would say, I guess, I mean, I knew we had done pretty good. Like once, I don't know, Steelo did pretty good to me in my mind, and Get It Together did even better. You know, that's what we won, like Soul Train Awards and all of that good stuff. But it wasn't about the awards. I think I really realized it with the just the reception of the people, like more and more people noticing us and appreciating us. And I think once we recorded the first album, we did the whole Good Burger thing. I think, and we did a lot with Nickelodeon. I think that's, for me, that's when I felt like, okay, we must kind of be okay, because I grew up on Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
I grew up watching that channel, and to you know, do different shows on Nickelodeon and have this music with this Nickelodeon film, you know, that was the theme song, you know, for Good Burger. And even when we got a chance to do, you know, even though we were ourselves on Moesha and you know, Brandy show and Sister with Tia and Tamara, like, wow. I mean, if you blink, you missed us. But the point is,
yeah.
I'm like, okay, we're actually like, we might, I guess we're kind of made it a little bit. Like, people might actually be digging us. We get to do all these super cool things. But of course, it wasn't until I think Where My Girls At, like, once I realized like that was just everywhere.
Yeah.
Like once we got to come to London and do Top of the Pops.
Oh yes.
I knew we made it.
You know, most of my guests will always say that when they were on Soul Train, that's when their family says, okay, you've made it. Like the moms and grandmoms and grandparents watch you on Soul Train.
Well, yeah, that's why I was like, you know, we won. That's when we won.
Well, no, the Soul Train show. Yeah, the old show, like the show,
right?
Yeah,
Yes, no, they're right, and I mentioned the award because I'm like, if you win any award, you as a musician, you want to win a Grammy, right?
Yeah.
And our first award was the Soul Train Award, a Lady of Soul Train Award to be exact. And you know, in my mind, I'm like, oh, okay, this is like Don Cornelius, like legacy, like, excuse me, you know, that's major for sure. I mean, those were my mom grew up on Soul Train and watching the El Debarges and the Debarge family. And
it was much harder to win a Soul Train Award than it was a Grammy, because the Grammys were very political. It was very much it was very it's changed now, but back then it was very political. They always have the same, you know, and I love Anita Baker, but they'll have a say, but they you know, Soul Train was very much up against a lot of competition. When you guys were out though, did you you know, it was you guys, there was Black, there was 3LW. I mean, you know, the same kind of teenage girls. What was there like competition among you guys, or how was it back then?
No, I think I don't even really remember running into anyone other than, I think we may have seen Black here and there. 3LW, I feel like, came out later, maybe after us. So I don't remember running into them. The only ones I really remember running into and actually sharing the stage with and doing the same shows with, like we did Soul Train with them. We had a few different shows. You know, we would always be in the same lineups here and there, was Destiny's Child.
Oh, were they around the same age and stuff?
It was their first album, and I think it was probably our second album, because our first album came out in 96. So the second album of ours came out in like 99, and I think that's when their first album dropped.
Wow.
So yeah, we did shows with them. Like I remember doing a show with them like in Houston. It was like Beyonce's birthday, and she had the camera and wanted everybody to say happy birthday. And I remember them at Soul Train backstage, and I remember Latavia, who I'm actually good friends with now in real life. She would say, I remember her saying they were talking about competition then. Someone, I don't know, some media person was back there and talked about competition, and we were like, and Latavia was like, but it's good competition, it's friendly competition. And I always remember Kelly and Beyonce being super sweet. I remember, you know, they tried to pit us against them back then. And I think we had a whole spread in Vibe where we were on one side of the page and I was on the other side of the page in Vibe magazine. Because I think that's when Where My Girls At had come out for us, which was, you know, doing really well for us. And then I think that's when probably what was their Bills, what was their first song from that album? Was it Bills? Maybe Bugaboo or whatever. Like, but they like, you know, they hit hard. They really hit the scene. And so we both were doing really well around that time. So I remember specifically them. First album, Total. We would do lots of things with Total. Total was out. They came out around the same time that we did. Escape and SWV were before us. So they like, I looked up to them totally. Like, you know, I was still in high school, and SWV, of course, I was a Coco fanatic, and Escape was out as well. And I'm just looking like, oh my gosh, there's so many cool like groups out. Groups.
So many.
It was a lot back then, right? Which is sad. Not now.
Yeah, that's a pity that it's not now. But
maybe no groups. Maybe one group.
What do you think happened because Destiny's Child just went on to another level and then you guys stalled? What do you think was the difference between that?
I think there were so many differences. I think we had been going for such a long time. I know they probably had started a while back as well. But I think we had started really having a lot of internal issues. That's when a lot of our stuff just kind of, all the personal stuff kind of took its toll. I think also there was some political stuff with the label, but unfortunately, I think our inner stuff got the best of us. Beyonce's dad was the manager.
Yeah, I interviewed him, Matthew.
Yeah, and you know, Mr. Knowles made it clear, I'm sure, that hey, this is the lead singer, this is her role, this is y'all's roles. You know, and in my group, I think, although we had the brother-in-law as the manager, and I was technically the lead singer or whatever, I don't think that's not something that they ever really liked to hear. That was not really fun for them to hear, and me either, because it always made me feel uncomfortable. And I think, I mean, you know, you may not think so or not, but those things, they matter. They make a difference. Do you know what I mean? Like, because I think it starts to play on your psyche. You know, if you're a lead, but then you're constantly feeling like, I don't know if I should be, because I feel bad, because, you know.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you know, I felt bad. I came into school. I was never insensitive to that. I always understood why they would feel the way they feel. But at the same time, it started to get a little old, and it started to get a little frustrating. And I think those things just took its toll. And I think it gets a little hard. I think it gets overwhelming for you as an individual. And when you've been working at it for so long, you know, all of us have been working at it for so long, you know, you just kind of get, if you feel like you're not doing it the way you maybe thought you'd be doing it or perceive or whatever, you know, I think you just get frustrated and you just kind of give up and you don't look at the bigger picture. You allow all that stuff to kind of, I think, get in the way of what really matters, you know, which is the music. Do you know what I mean? I think Destiny's Child, they had it structured. They knew look, this one, she knows what she do. She knows what she do.
Yeah.
And this is how it is. This is how it's going to be. No questions asked. That wasn't really the case with our situation, even though most of the time I was singing the leads and it had kind of become like, okay, it just is what it is. It never really fully stuck, I don't think, because of how the group came about, because of how my entrance came about, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine if, you know, if I formed a group with, you know, my siblings.
Yeah, and here comes this random girl, right?
Got you know, got the name and everything, and now it just seems if, you know, somebody's coming in and taking the limelight, you know, the dark skin one in between the two light skin, and, you know, the more recognizable. But you know, as I said, most of us as human beings, you know, we react in that same way. I do wonder, is there no one in charge? So, like, you know, does Michael Bivins get involved to say, okay, guys, this is why we're doing stuff, or Motown, or you know, there's no person, like we talked about Dr. Mr. Knowles, voice saying this. Is there no one within?
It was, I think, well, I don't know. Mr. Bivins probably didn't get involved in that, no, but I do believe like management and
the management is family.
Well, later on, but later on, I had, when I went back for the third album, there was separate management that I pulled in. He actually was the executive producer of the first album, Todd Russo, and then he managed me the third album. So him, their brother-in-law, sometimes people from the label, A&Rs, sometimes would try and have those conversations, but they just didn't always go well.
Yeah.
You know, and so it would just turn into more tension and stress. Honestly, to me, in my mind, the difference is diligence, hard work, and discipline. You know, I think we got to a point where we allowed all of that stuff, like I said, to kind of overtake the bigger picture. And I'm not blaming us, because we were young and we went through a lot. It was traumatic. And, you know, I respect how everybody felt back then. I really, truly do. I get it on all sides. But it was very hard. You know, it was very hard for me. And this is just my truth. It was very hard for me. But I did my job. I never complained. I took a lot of hits, not physically, but it felt that way a lot of times. It was hard for me a lot of times. Am I claiming like, oh, woe is me? No, because again, those girls went through a lot as well. Like their feelings were hurt as well. But it was rough.
Well, I mean, you know, we talked earlier about, you know, when you went through everything with Zach, did you get help as therapy? And you said no, and then I wonder when you guys were going through all this stuff, does anyone get someone to talk to listen to, so bounce it out? Because I don't know if you remember the group Profile, who sang Liar. So I interviewed LJ, and he said he was going through all this stuff. His dad had died, all this was happening, and they said sing, and he said he was going through depression, he felt, and he just quit the group. He says, I can't continue doing this. And you know, so it was same Motown. But he said no one at the label cared. They, you know, Kadar was in charge then, and he was like struggling with this side, and I felt for him, but I thought, you know, but for you guys, was they don't
really care like that. By they, I mean like the label.
The label is a business, and you're a commodity, and you know, we'll get somebody else.
The label don't really care that much. Sorry, it just is what it is.
But
we all have our stories, you know what I mean? Like I know my group members, I'm not the only one that went through it. Like I said, they had their story. They went through stuff too, I'm sure. You know, when Misha got pregnant, right at the top of the release of Where My Girls At, you know, and the label, you know, she went through hell for that, and we almost got shelved for that. You know, it was just a lot, you know, and it's like nobody's really taking our feelings into consideration. You know what I mean? It's just like, look, we got to put this album out, you know, so either y'all gonna do this or y'all gonna do that, or to all of y'all, like, you know. It's like, so there's always stuff happening. So yeah, I mean, the short answer, like, to the question of, you know, why do you think, you know, they went here, and when we were at the peak of our career, it's just all the drama finally, I think, just kind of surfaced, and just from 96, you know. Now here we are like 2000, and it was just a lot of stuff still there, you know what I mean, that hadn't really been resolved. Yeah, it's just chaotic, unfortunately, by then.
Yeah, as I said, so that's why, as I said, it's one of the sad things that you guys all have to experience, you know, with a label whose focus is on making money, and no one caring about the welfare and the well-being of you guys
at all.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah, I mean, and it's easy for us to start to think that when, you know, it's as easy as coming together, recording an album and promoting it, and then at the same time, hip hop was becoming a lot more profitable for the labels because there was very little overhead. You know, you didn't, you know, and they were just thinking, well, this is becoming a lot more of a crossover hip hop, becoming more pop. So they were like shelving R&B and an investment in R&B. So they didn't give much space for flops, or for if an album's not doing well, you know what.
Exactly. Well, you know what? Well, for the second album, I really didn't understand what happened, because Where My Girls At was so huge that there really didn't need to be much of a push from the label. I think it started out with, you know, promotion and all that good stuff, but it did so well on its own and blew up, I think, bigger than maybe even they anticipated, that they kind of just let it coast. But it definitely should have been more of a push behind that even. But well, at that time though, I think Sonia was managing us. Brandy's mother, Sonia Norwood, was managing us that album. And I'm sure there were things that she was dealing with the label that we had no idea. You know, and that's always another issue. Like, we just learned recently, like, that our third album they didn't really push it. I think that's where Kadar was there. He kind of just put it on the shelf because he and management were like bumping heads. So who cares about your lives, girls? Like, my ego and your man's ego are conflicting, and I don't like him, so I'm about to put your album on the shelf and screw you.
Yeah.
Like, that's what happened with the last album. It's like, damn, word, like, wow, you know. It's just like, and they have the power to do that. That's what's so messed up.
Yeah.
You know, and you spend all this time and energy, and you know, you do all of this, you put all this work into this project. You know, we recorded 16 songs. You know, we released Star with Pharrell and did a video for it. That didn't really do anything. It kind of plummeted because I guess he had already decided in his mind, he meaning Kadar, that like he was, I guess, already over it. So wouldn't allow us to do another video for I Still Love You, which is the second song Pharrell had produced for us, which ended up being huge on its own without even being a single. And that's the only song that really did anything off that album and by itself. And so, yeah, that album pretty much was over before it came out because he was trying to prove a point, I guess.
I mean, we've heard how powerful these executives are.
Man, it's just like, what? Jesus. I mean,
you know Gina Thompson?
Oh my gosh, yes, I remember her. I love her so much. I haven't seen her in forever, but people used to think we were sisters. Used to ask me all the time, were we sisters?
Yes, I'm thinking about it. So we had a good chat and interview, and I said, "What happened?"
I love her so much.
You know, yeah. So she, you know, we asked, you know, you did, you know, things you do. What happened? She said, "Well, as soon as that was blowing up, Mercury was getting ready to get sold to Universal, and they just shelved everyone except for Brian McKnight. So she goes, okay, she goes with Missy, signs her on her label, and she does a big album, and then Elektra just shelves the album, and it was heartbroken.
I never knew that story. Wow.
Yeah. So
and
it's
the politics of it all. Do you know what I mean? It's so many politics, most of which we're not privy to and or have any control of, and it next thing you know, it's beyond your control and it's over. And then a lot of times your fans look at you like, why did you do this, or why did you do that? How did you? It's like, I didn't have any control. I didn't even know. You
couldn't do it.
Didn't do anything about it. Your hands were tied. So it is what it is. But fast forward to now, I'm grateful that at least we can still hop on tours and do shows and perform and get to give the fans a little bit of nostalgia. And it's really cool when they get excited when they hear all the songs, and even like I Still Love You, even though that wasn't a single. I'm so grateful that there are those 702 fans that stuck around and stuck by us long enough to realize, like, hey, I don't know what happened to this album, but I know this song was really awesome, and they supported it, and because of them, it's a song that's got some pretty cool notoriety, even though, like I said, it was never even released formally. So
I just saw recently though that you guys are touring, because were you just recently?
We'll be there. Yes, we're coming to you. You got to come to the show, friend.
I've got
for Halloween. I think like a Halloween block.
October 30th. No, but I was So I've spoken. So pretty much interviewed half the lineup.
I'm sure, right?
So, so I'm definitely gonna be there. But this past weekend, where you guys in?
Oh, we were just in North Carolina.
North Carolina. Okay, so it's. So I mean, how is it now? The three of you on stage and performing. I mean, just.
It's much better. We had to take time apart from each other. We didn't speak or perform together for like years, probably almost a decade.
Wow.
And I think I had my son in 2009. I think we were unfortunately, their sister, one of the girls who was in the group before me, Irish, passed away in 2008. I hadn't spoken to them since 2003, which was when the Star album came out. So we hadn't talked in like 5 years. I learned about their sister. Of course, I was gonna go and pay my respects and be by their side. Of course, no matter what we went through, I'm definitely never gonna be that person. They even asked me to sing, I will say we had a lot of good times. It wasn't all bad times. We had probably way more good than bad. So they're family to me. I spent most of half my life with them, So I went to do that in 2008, and then I had my son in 2009. And, they reached out to me then because I think I probably told them like what had happened. Yeah. And so they reached out to me then. And then after that, everybody lived their own lives. I was being a mom. Misha is a wife and has children. Irish, same, has a son. And so we just all live our own lives. Next thing you know, it's 2016. We hadn't talked in years. I reached out in 2016. I went to see them in Vegas because I hadn't seen them. And we sat and talked and just kind of flirted with the idea of maybe getting back together, maybe, doing some business together again. Not sure, but maybe. Everybody was on board. And then 2017, we had decided to go ahead and reunite, and we did the Soul Train Awards red carpet. It was in Vegas. We just wanted to just say hi and show people that we were back together. That was 2017. By, I think, the end of 17 into 18, 19, we were on the road, and then COVID happened. But we toured, we got back with, we did shows with some of everybody. BBD, of course, New Edition. We do a lot of shows with people that came out around the time we did. So we do a lot of shows with other groups, which is always fun. So it's like Jagged Edge was just on the show last weekend, and we've done shows with Next, and we've done shows with 112 all the time. And I mean, it's just really cool to get back with the people that we started out with. Michelle does shows with us. Adina Howard. Like it's a lot of people like I grew up on. So it's so dope. You know, we are on these shows. I guess they consider them like these throwback reunion shows.
Well, you know, the Grandmaster Keith Sweat seems to headline most of the shows. Well,
Oh God, Uncle Keith. How can I forget about old Uncle Keith? Yes.
Yeah.
So it's you know, it's always a blessing though. Like I really enjoy it. We run into everybody in H-Town. I mean, and I mean, just groups that I grew up on, you know what I mean? I still get to see them, and it's just a blessing to even see that they are back together again and doing their thing. Cut Close, we run into them from time to time.
Yeah, Tabitha,
Yes. Tabitha's crazy. I love her. And, but who else? Just like everybody. Brownstone was on the bill last week too. Like, so, cool.
Is it? But I heard recently that you were planning on releasing an album with Musiq, Soulchild.
No, not a whole album. No. We have songs. We do have songs out that we did in the past. We have videos. We did a song together called "Give It to You." That was back in like 2013, 2014. There's a video out for that, and then that's all we have out together, right? Because we did I'm thinking because we did a whole project together, but I never released it. I just released that one song.
Yeah.
But I am signed to his label, and so he's patiently waiting on me to release this album that I started in 2017.
Okay.
Thanks for your patience.
Okay.
So yeah, that's probably maybe what was maybe that's what it was confused with. But I mean, I always love to do anything with him musically because he's such a freaking musical genius, Lord have mercy. So we have songs in the vault that I've never released, that duets that I've never released.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know, I'm holding on. Some would say, they tell me I'm a music hoarder, whatever. So
what's
I just overthink and I just overanalyze and I'm just like, I want it to be perfect. And then I change my mind and then I'm like, oh my gosh. And then years go by and I never put it out.
And then what if but that's, I mean, if you've got the visuals for that, do you think it wouldn't do well, or what would hold you from
Well, I didn't, the visual is out for that, for Give It to You. We've done one video that was back then, that's out. But anything other than that, no, I never released anything. I have visuals out that are just Meelah records, but no duets with him, just that one duet. I didn't release the songs because, I was just nervous that, it's not good enough. They're not going to like it. It's just okay. They're expecting more from us. This is not good enough. You know, just in my head. He produced a whole EP for me back in like 2014 or something.
Wow.
He did all the tracks and we wrote everything together and I just didn't release it. But I released that one song, which I love, which did really well independently.
Yeah.
It did really good, called Give It to You. So all of the watchers, all the viewers, check it out if you haven't heard of it or haven't seen it. It's called Give It to You, Meelah featuring Musiq Soulchild.
So should we expect anything in the near future from Meelah?
The two of us again? From
me. As well. Well, it could be the two of you. It could be that.
For me, for sure. Because like I said, I gotta get this project out. Oh my goodness, I'm the worst. Gosh, I'm such an overanalyzer mixed with perfection. It's just, I drive myself nuts. And I do have a little bit of ABCDEFG, ADHD, HIJKLMNP. So just all over the place.
Okay.
And I'll just hold on to it and be like, oh my God, I gotta finish this album. And then I'll be like, oh, it's dated now, it's old. And then Soulchild will be like, just put it out. It's old to you. It's not dated. It doesn't sound dated. I'm just like, I don't know. So
well, yeah, I mean, we're starved from hip hop is everywhere. We very rarely get anything. So
I know.
And then anything that we do get is that they call R&B. It's pretty much rappers singing, talking. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
So
yes, it's true. Yeah. I even have a record out there like that I had some of my young producer writer friends coerced me into doing. They persuaded me to do. They're like, go on, just do it, just try it, just do something different. It's not, people ain't gonna expect this from you. Like, just put it out. I'm like, because this is not my lane. And they're like, just why not? You can do what you want to do. And it's actually funny because it's called Do What I Feel Like. I do what I feel like. And it's so like trappy, nothing like me. Like it's not an R&B, Meelah singing song, but I'm glad I put it out. It's fun. It's called, I Do What I Feel Like. So you guys could check that out too. # I Do What I Feel Like. That's the name of it. I mean, it was fun, you know, and at least I can say I did it. But yeah, I'm not trying to jump on a bandwagon and do anything that's trendy.
Yeah, because I think one of the female vocalists now is they sound so similar that you can't
They
tell.
sound alike.
They all sound alike, same sort of actone notes, and it's like, so for us, it's like who are used to hearing a Coco singing and Candy singing and Brandy, and you could hear and say, yeah, I know who that is. Now I don't know the difference between SZA and Summer Walker. They all, you know, they're all good, but they all, for me, who doesn't follow the music that well, if I hear a track, I couldn't tell who it is, because they and then any female coming up decides to sound just like them, and so that becomes harder for us to understand the lyrics.
No, I mean, it's very true, you know, and that's not, you know, that's not to diss anybody, that's no shade, but I feel you. Like, I actually love SZA and the way she writes, and I love Summer Walker, especially the song Body, which samples Get It Together. Of course, that's my favorite. But they're both really dope. But I know what you mean, because, you know, most of these young female artists, they do sound similar. I don't know if it's these artists choosing to sing this way and be produced this way, or if it's the producers that are producing them this way.
Maybe so.
You know, saying being like, oh, well, this is what's working, this is what's popular. So
yeah, because the hip hop artists all sound the same. So Future and all of them all sound the same. So they're doing the females.
Well, that's why you do have to appreciate Jasmine Sullivan and her and who else has their own distinct sound, where you kind of know, like, okay, they're still young and trendy, but they've got their own sound. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're not trying to be the cookie cutter version of themselves and sound like what's popular.
So with that, though,
I struggle with that sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, I'm a woman of a particular age, so I'm not trying to necessarily sing like you know, the younger crowd, but at the same time, well, when I came out, I mean, I definitely, like you said, Coco and Brandy, they were out before me, and those were voices that I listened to and that I learned from, and I would like to think that I have my own signature sound, and so all I can do is be true to myself. But if I come out and sing the way I naturally sing, which is sometimes just airy and just tone, then it'll be like, am I trying to sound like them? Or was I maybe an inspiration to them? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I think the production these days is kind of all similar as well. But I respect these kids. I do. I listen to them. I get inspired by them for sure. But I also hear, not myself, just me, Meelah, literally. Sometimes, yes. But just my era in them. Yeah. For sure.
Well, please, you have to get the put a task down so we can hear the Musiq Soulchild Meelah combo, because as I said, we're starving for
real music
stuff, and you know, the Beatles keep finding stuff they recorded 1,000 years ago, and they keep re-releasing it and says, oh, some vintage Beatles stuff or some older stuff, and everyone's eating it up, but we
I'm gonna release. Okay, all right, so maybe I'll at least, I have to do the Meelah stuff for sure. But maybe, the unreleased duets of he and I, maybe I'll, you know, put out an EP or something called.
And it's so easy. You can just get it coded, just put it out there and let it, before someone else leaks it online, but let them.
Right, because that's the other thing he said. Right, exactly. Yeah. No, I don't think anybody will be able to leak this stuff. This stuff that he and I did, that's the cool thing about, you know, owning your own stuff and being in control of your own stuff and being independent. Like, you know, there's nobody, if anybody leaks this, it's a ghost, because I don't know who that is.
Well, you know, I always end my interviews by asking my guests that if you were stuck in an elevator and they said it'll take about 2 or 3 hours before you get you out, what movie would you request to watch while you're waiting to come out?
Oh gosh, you know what? Just so that I stay in a calm space, probably something like Forrest Gump. It's classic. I love that movie. Yeah. Maybe because I really think he was on the spectrum, and so my heart is, you know.
Yeah, he was. You know what? I'm
warm with the special needs community. I'm very warm because of my baby. I'm like, they didn't say it, but I think Forrest was definitely.
He is. Yeah. I'm gonna watch it again, and now with my
therapy
hat on, just be able to see. because of that sense of being very open, be not knowing the boundaries and stuff like that.
I'm trying to tell you, if you watch it, like if you are in tune with some of the things that autism, I'm like, I think Boris was autistic.
Yeah, he's on the spectrum. Okay.
Yeah. I love that movie though. But aside from that, I think I just love that movie. He did such a great job in that movie. He was Tom Hanks is so convincing. It's just it just makes my heart feel good. It's just one of those like movies that you could just put on and like.
Yeah. Okay. I need to go back and watch it. And then finally, what is your sort of your favorite song? I used to ask the question used to be, if you're waiting for the movie to come on, what song do you request? But then people was picking songs about just to calm them in the elevator, and I said, no, what's your all-time go-to favorite song? Then I just wanted to get it.
Favorite song? It's too many. I mean, it really, even with the movies, like I love movies. I love so many movies. So that was hard, but I do love Forrest Gump. I always watch it. And Pretty Woman. Who can't? Like, it's a classic.
You should have a favorite song. Like, okay, mine is my.
Okay. This is hard. Okay. I will say this. I've always thought, and it isn't a really, really old song either. I've always thought that one of the most beautifully written songs was Ordinary People by John Legend. I love that song.
Okay.
I really love that song. It's just, so I love slow, mid-tempo record. I'm not really a fast, upbeat song kind of gal. I like mellow stuff.
Yeah.
I just gravitate. I don't know why. Maybe I don't know. I gravitate to kind of melancholy, moody music.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's definitely a good song.
It's so pretty, but I mean, nobody wants to be sad. But
no. Get It Together was a sad song. So
I know, right?
So don't worry about that.
It definitely was. I have my fake tear, my one fake tear.
Singing in the bathtub and all.
Yeah. I did that by myself. Thank you, my one ticket. Where's my Oscar?
Yeah.
And Ordinary People is great. Or it'd have to be like, I think Prince. Oh gosh, not Die For You. I love that one too. But oh God, it's another Prince one that just gives me my life every time I hear it. Oh Jesus. It's Die For You, and what's the other one? Oh my God, he has so many, right? He had two.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm gonna think of it as soon as I hang up with you. This is so annoying.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my ultimate is always Michael Jackson's "The Lady in My Life."
Oh, really?
And just and I think myself, Donnell Jones, Pamela Long from Total,
Michael
and David Chance from Rough End. So these are that's our
really.
So they all there's a number of others, and even
Michael has some stuff, man. That's
Crazy
hard.
Bone. Yeah, when I interviewed he actually got into music because he saw Motown 25, and that's when he said he wanted to get into music.
I will say Quincy Jones, he produced the heck out of those type of records. My God, beautiful.
Yeah. So that's my favorite. Oh, do you know? I just remember because I did interview both Kima and Pam, and so both of them had BT the encore. But also Kima did tell me that you during her hiatus that they were thinking about bringing you in, and was that when you left after the second album that you were sort of on the market?
Yeah, it was after I left 702 and
the second album before the Stars.
After the second album, in between the second album and the Star album, correct? Yeah.
Okay.
And I wasn't even really. And I definitely wasn't trying to be like a group hopper. I think that's what ultimately made the decision for me. I was just like, I don't know. I love Total, first of all. Love them. They treat me like family always, like little sister. I love them to pieces, all three of them. But I definitely, I was presented with the opportunity, and because I was over, I think at Bad Boy doing some writing and stuff.
Okay.
And Puff knew that I was leaving, that I wasn't in the group anymore. I was over at Bad Boy with my then manager, Todd Russo and Faith Evans, and we were writing and probably doing some backgrounds and just, vibing. And Puff, Puff, he's a thinker. So I think he probably was like, oh, well, she's not in, okay, so she left 702. And I think Kima at the time had left Total. So he kind of presented it to myself and Todd. And at the time, I was just so upset with 702 that I was just like, all right, I'll entertain it. I didn't want to, at the time I wasn't, going back to 702 wasn't even on my mind at the time because everything that we had gone through was just still so fresh. So I was just still in my feelings. Yeah. So, and then I'm like, well, who tells Puff no? But I was just like, this would be interesting. So yeah, I entertained it. We recorded a couple of songs and everything, but
wow.
I know, and I'm like, Keisha and I talk from time to time. I love her, and I'm always like, "Girl, where is the songs? Girl, where are the songs?" And she's like, "I know, where are the songs?
Who has songs?
I love to hear those songs. Oh my God, me, her, and Pam recorded a couple songs together. So I definitely entertained the idea, but ultimately it didn't happen. Motown pretty much made me an offer I couldn't refuse. It was kind of like, okay, let me stop playing and go get this shmoney, as our girl would say these days. And I think also, though, it probably didn't happen because, like I said, I probably would have felt like weird. Like, I don't know how the public would have received that. I would not have wanted to look like the group hopper. Yeah. Like, okay, you're going to the group. Well, what's going on?
Wow.
But yeah, no, but it didn't happen. But they are always so cool. Kima styled 702. Like, when they were still together, she styled us for like Teen Summit, which was this huge show on BET. Mm-hmm. And we would always, like I said before, we would always do shows with Total. So it was always mad love, always.
But who recorded the songs?
Where are the songs? I don't know. I recorded a song with Coco and Kelly Rowland. Coco had myself and Kelly Rowland on a song for one of her solo albums. It didn't make the album, but where is the song?
Well, I'm speaking to Coco on Friday. I'll ask her, where is the song?
Where is the song? We always ask that question. It's so funny. People either ask her randomly. I've seen people ask her, or I'll see in my timeline, hey, I heard you did a song. Like, can we hear it? I'm like, when you find it, let me know. Yes. We'll be listening to it at the same time.
Oh, we need to find the engineers and stuff.
I know. Well, sometimes they leak stuff on YouTube. I have seen a lot of unreleased 702 songs on YouTube, and we're like, how the heck? And I think it's probably some of the engineers from back then.
Yeah. But what did you, because Pam, she, when I interviewed her last week about her experience on BT Encore, and she said it was really tough. I mean, they didn't, what they showed was not even half of it. It was the most challenging 4 weeks of her life.
I believe it.
When did you see a different side of your group members on because what they record is she said what really it was harder than what they showed on TV, but they didn't show the fun side. But watching from the outside,
of course, I'm sure they just showed the drama and the negative stuff that people unfortunately are drawn to these days. Reality TV has become people's entertainment, and it's usually mostly mean girl stuff, stuff that's rude and harsh and hurtful, but that's what makes good TV, I guess. Yeah. So kudos for them for sticking it out. They eventually went home. They left because they were just tired of dealing with the negativity, but they stayed, like, I think most 90% of the experience. They were there for most of the time. So they did better than me, because I know if I would have did it, I would have left the first day.
But when you watched it, did you recognize them when you saw them on TV? Did you think, wow, these are not the girls I know?
I recognize them. I think the unrecognizable parts may have been, I recognize the fact that Misha definitely always spoke up. She always defended herself. She always would speak her truth. She never backed down to anyone. So I definitely saw that in her. I recognized that. And I was just like, I was definitely advocating for her for that. Like, tell him, Mish. And then, I just felt bad because nobody wants to go through that scrutiny and being under the radar, this microscope of just all things negative, it's frustrating and it's embarrassing and, it's humiliating because you don't have control over the footage. You don't have control over the edits. You don't have control over the perception of what is going to be put out there. So I was more so just concerned. I felt like a mother hen, like a big sister, It was filmed here in Atlanta. Oh. And so it was the day after my birthday. So I told them I didn't want to do it because I had.
I did see you go in there.
I had mad party fun time the day before. Okay. It was COVID. I hadn't been out of the house literally in like almost a year, like for real. And it was my birthday. And I finally stepped out for the first time for my birthday in like a year. And they happened to be filming at the same time. And the producer's like, you have to comment. Like, I'm like, but my birthday, like I actually am going out. I was actually hired to celebrate my birthday somewhere. So, I was working as well. So I was like loud and like so excited to be out and living my life. And so I completely lost my voice. Wow. And I was like, oh my God, I have to go film. I don't want to go. I cannot do this. I was like, no, I had no idea I was going to wake up that horse. I must have had a heck of a time. Anyway, but I couldn't leave my girls hanging, especially since it was here in my city that I live in, so I had to go support them. They were all the way across the nation in town. So I went to support them. I'm glad I did. I don't like what I saw on television. I don't like what was portrayed or what happened with them on the show. But at the end of the day, we're a team, we're a collective. And so, if one looks bad, we all look bad. So I'm going to go and I'm going to support my girls. And I let them know, like, hey, I'm happy y'all did this because it was challenging for them, I'm sure. But I was happy that they kind of stepped outside of their comfort zone and tried something different. So I was happy I went, but I was very annoyed that I had no voice at all.
Oh, yes.
I was just talking. All I did, I wasn't going to sing or anything, but still I was like, why do I have laryngitis for the trolls to say even more negative things? Oh. But, the good thing is, like, I don't care, because the good thing is, like, I know that I can still sing live and sound like the record, and that was just in that moment. I had no voice. It's not like my voice is gone for the rest of my life. Yeah, it's not like Meelah has lost her voice. I was like, people are gonna let me have it. They're so mean. Yeah. But no, it was cool though. I mean, I'm happy I went and supported them.
I mean, seeing you guys on stage. Yeah, but seeing you. Oh, you said but seeing you guys on stage now, as I said, I just saw the North Carolina footage from the 702 beat sort of.
Oh gosh, yes. I don't know. We don't even know who that is.
Oh, it's not you guys. It's not you.
No, but whoever that person is, I always slide in their DMs. I think it's a gentleman. So I'm like, I don't know how you do it, but I
thought it was your manager that had the counter.
That is not our page, but he's been doing such a great job for so long now that we just kind of let him run with it. But we don't even know who that is. We comment on stuff.
I thought it was your official.
It is so not, and it's so sad because it's been up for so long that we're like, oh my gosh, people really think this is our official page. So we keep saying we're going to get an official page that we actually run. He does a great job, but honey, I don't even know who that is. And with the catfish of the internet these days, I ain't no telling what the heck. It's just like, it's so strange. But clearly he's a fan, and I mean, he gets clips of every show, literally from the time I take a bow.
That's how I see you guys.
Sometimes I have had to slide in the DMs and say, hey, thanks, but this isn't a good look. Take this down, He's always very nice and always says, okay, I understand.
There's one that's, the mic got stuck just recently. And
you put that on there?
Yeah. So I saw when she was trying to bring it down. So
okay, so now I'm gonna have to DM him and say, can you take that down? Why is that on there? Why would he put that on there?
Yeah, okay. So
it was a part of the show, but what was the caption? What does the caption say? Okay.
No, it was like the whole song. So I think you were singing "Get It Together," but then
I think Irish's mic stand. Whoever was before us was probably really.
It was tall, and so it was like.
I think somebody was on before us, and we're like.
So somebody had to come in and help her bring it down and stuff.
That was me.
Oh, that was you. Yes, okay. And there was a few.
Yes. We're all like 5. I'm 5'2", so they're maybe 5'3", so we're all pretty short.
Okay.
And we don't use microphones until that song, and then I Still Love You. So the microphones were there waiting for us, but they probably didn't realize, our management probably didn't realize that they were still the height of who was before us. Lord of mercy. So yeah, her microphone stand got stuck. So I just kind of ran over and just helped her put it down.
Okay.
Okay, well, I guess in his defense, I guess he didn't necessarily spotlight that moment, I'm hoping.
No, it was the whole
I guess he's
song.
just trying to do the song. Okay.
It was the whole song, no. And actually what I was gonna say is that since the show, they look unrecognizable. They're not the same girls I saw on the show physically. I think I didn't realize that they were the same people. It's almost as if, yeah. So and it's good to see the three of you guys performing and hitting the stage and stuff. So I can't wait to see you guys in person when you guys come to London.
Thank you.
Yeah,
they're doing well. They're doing really great. I think sometimes it takes you seeing yourself, to realize like, okay, let me work on this. Let me fix that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I do it all the time. Like I have a hard time even looking at footage on that 702 Beat page because I'm so hard on myself. And sometimes you should so that you can know what you need to tweak or whatever. But I can't. I can't stand it. I do not like playback, but sometimes it takes, you've seen yourself to kind of get back in your zhuzh and get back on top of your game. You know what I mean? Misha looks great. She's doing great. And same for Irish. And I know that was, difficult to go through like public scrutiny and public opinion and all of that, but they're doing way better. And I'm just happy that that's over and that there's new news. What's the new gossip?
No. You guys are good. I know, Meelah, I've been for a long time trying to get this, and I appreciate the time today. I love talking about Zach. Love just hearing your experience, and as I said, if there's anytime you think there's stuff you want to pick the brain, or just let me know.
I'm gonna reach out to you for some therapy, man. I'm gonna hit you up.
I begin to